No DQ Galaxy. We are live with a recap of AEW Dynamite for Wednesday, August 31st, 2022. All Out is this coming Sunday night, a very busy weekend in wrestling. We have Clash at the Castle on Saturday. We have Worlds Collide Sunday afternoon, and then Sunday night, we have All Out. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. Good old JM Jeff Meacham is here. City by the Bay, Joey Perez, Donald, Jose Garza, Darren G. Thank you all. You guys are, as I like to call, the early birds. Philip Sapp is here as well. Let's go ahead and get started with this recap. AEW Dynamite this week was in Chicago, CM Punk's hometown. We had Jon Moxley, the new undisputed AEW World Champion, coming to the ring. He got a mixed reaction. Some boos, some CM Punk chants. Others were chanting for Jon Moxley. He talked about how CM Punk was still being mopped off the mat in Cleveland. CM Punk hit Moxley with his best shot, was looking for a way out, and then he folded. He curled up in a little ball and died, according to Moxley. Moxley said, "The champions never fold." Moxley said things did not work out for CM Punk. Moxley has zero sympathy for CM Punk. CM Punk has a fragile ego, fragile body, weak mind, and a weak spirit. Then Moxley said they're moving on. He has an open contract to anybody that wants to face him for the championship at the All Out pay-per-view. But he warned, whoever steps in the ring with him, it will be hazardous to their health. Then we had one of the producers, Ace Steel, come into the ring after Moxley left the contract in the ring. Ace Steel grabbed the contract and took his leave. I'm just wondering, as much as I liked this segment and what followed it, I'm not a big fan of when nobody comes out there except for one person. Where was every other guy back there that has not gotten an opportunity at the world title? Where's MJF? Where's Lance Archer? Or any of these guys, Eddie Kingston? I know some of them have matches for All Out, but you would think if Jon Moxley is out there with an open contract, you'd have like 24 guys coming down there and wanting an opportunity. And Jose Garza says, where was Wardlow, who wanted to be the legitimate champion? We forgot about that. So I really liked Moxley's promo and I liked the follow-up, but that's the one flaw with these types of segments. And we've seen these segments in WWE over the years, and it always bothered me. Like, I remember Zack Ryder was always bitching about never getting a title match. And then when there was an opportunity, an open challenge, he's nowhere to be found. Makes his character look like a bitch. And that's the only negative to these types of segments. Anyways, we did have a follow-up to this. More on that in just a little bit. We had Chris Jericho interviewed backstage, said that maybe Stu Hart and Owen Hart would consider Bryan Danielson to be the better wrestler, but they would appreciate Jericho for everything that he's accomplished in the business. And then Daniel Garcia showed up and apologized to Chris Jericho, said he apologized for being ungrateful, and he pledged his loyalty to the Jericho Appreciation Society. And we do have Dylan sending in a $5 super chat. How's it going, Dylan? Hope you're doing well. Dylan says this has to be said, but the number of clowns on Twitter comparing the CM Punk and Jon Moxley match to the finger poke of doom made me facepalm. Not the same. Oh, I agree with you on that 100%. And the finger poke of doom wasn't even the main thing that turned people off of WCW. It was no doubt a decision that was questionable, but I think that WCW did a lot worse angles than that. That tends to take credit for being the beginning of the end of WCW, but I do not think it was. I actually thought it was an interesting segment to build up heat. Unfortunately, there was no follow-up. Like Goldberg could have gone through the NWO guys one by one, had a big match with Hogan. They went with Ric Flair versus Hogan and then did that double turn, and Goldberg never got his payback. That was the problem with that whole thing, but that's a whole other discussion and story. But anyways, this was nothing like that. So I definitely agree 100% on that. We had Bryan Danielson versus Jake Hager with William Regal and Chris Jericho on commentary. This was mostly Jake Hager dominating in the beginning. He had Bryan on the outside. He put Bryan through the timekeeper's table. Eventually, Bryan started to make a comeback, and they traded some submissions. Hager put on the ankle lock. Bryan got the label lock on, and Hager, his big size, helped him get to the rope. But then Bryan caught him with the running knee and scored the 1-2-3 victory. Pretty solid match here with these guys. Builds up Bryan for the pay-per-view. And then afterwards, the rest of the Jericho Appreciation Society, or 2.0, I should say, they ran down and they attacked Bryan. You had Claudio and Wheeler Yuta coming down to chase those guys off. And then Jericho got in the ring with a chair. Daniel Garcia ran down, grabbed the chair from Jericho, even though he pledged his allegiance to the JAS, and Jericho got hit with the running knee. The plot thickens heading into Sunday, and I still feel like we are going to see Daniel Garcia betray Bryan Danielson. We'll see. I mean, this definitely seemed like he's moving away from Jericho, and typically that means he's going to end up being with Jericho, and it's all a big swerve. We'll see. Maybe not. But Bryan did get the last laugh here on Jericho heading into the pay-per-view. Moving on here, we had the Wingmen. They never appear on Dynamite, but they were fed up with not appearing on Dynamite. They had a bunch of signs. They were protesting, and they were quickly interrupted by somebody I was not expecting to see on this show. W. Morrissey, formerly Big Cass. He made a few appearances on Dynamite earlier this year. He looked great, came down there, beat up these guys as you would expect. And then Stokely Hathaway came down, gave Morrissey his card. Morrissey followed him out of the ring, and Tony Schiavone asked Stokely, what's up? What's going on with all these business arrangements? And he said, it's none of Tony's business. Does this mean that W. Morrissey is now all elite? I'm not sure I saw a graphic from Tony Khan, but this would seem to indicate that W. Morrissey is going to be a regular in Dynamite. And I'm still wondering, is he a good fit for AEW? That's my question, and they've signed so many guys. I was really hoping that WWE would bring back Enzo and Cass. Like, imagine Enzo and Cass versus the Usos. That would be fun. You got a ton of personality and charisma there. But yeah, he at least for the time being is going to be in AEW. W. Morrissey. I still want Enzo. I'm still waiting for him. But Morrissey looked great, and I'm glad he's getting another opportunity on a big stage. I just wonder, like, who else can Tony Khan sign and bring in to take up TV time when there's so many other guys that are barely getting on TV these days? Moving on here, we had Don Callis confronting Will Ospreay backstage prior to the six-man main event match, Young Bucks and Kenny Omega versus Ospreay and Aussie Open. And Don Callis was basically praising him. We had Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter versus Toni Storm and Hikaru Shida. This was not 9:15 to 9:30. It was actually before the end of the first hour. They changed it up this week, so that's always a nice thing. And it was a pretty basic tag team match. Not a whole lot to say about it. Shida got the win here. She pinned Britt Baker clean in the middle. Toni Storm and Shida shook hands after the match. And that makes me wonder, well, first of all, Shida ain't winning on Sunday. And now I'm feeling like Britt Baker's going to win since she took the L here. She would be my odds-on favorite to win, her or Toni Storm. Jamie Hayter winning would surprise me, and Shida winning would really surprise me at this point. So this was fine, nothing special. Just get them on TV before the pay-per-view. Pretty standard. We had a couple of video packages to hype up more matches for All Out because, we got to have like 12 matches on the card. That's how they roll. Pac and Kip Sabian are going to be fighting for the All-Atlantic Championship. I'm sure it'll be a good match, but does anybody really care about Kip Sabian in 2022? And quite frankly, does anybody really care about the All-Atlantic title? Like, to me, there's too many titles, and like this one, it hasn't really made any kind of an impact. I'm sure they'll have a great match, but going in, it's pretty cold in my opinion. And speaking of a match that maybe is cold and should be hotter, because most of the angles have been done on Rampage, we got Miro teaming up with Sting and Darby Allin against the House of Black. That will be it All Out. Again, I'm sure it'll be entertaining. Sting will do something crazy. Crowd will love it, but I'm not all that hyped for this. Like, it feels like it's thrown together, and I haven't been following Rampage, so, only stuff I see from Miro these days are when he does his little video package promos talking about his God and all this stuff. Like, I rarely see him wrestle or do anything on Dynamite. And we haven't even really seen much of Darby Allin and Sting lately. We did have that Darby Allin coffin match, but beyond that, seems like he hasn't done a whole lot either. House of Black got knocked out of the tournament, and they should have been in the finals. But apparently AEW has their storyline for the trios match. We'll get to that in a few moments here. But first, CM Punk made his appearance in Chicago, and he talked about breaking his foot on June 1st. There was a fan that was yelling out Colt Cabana, and CM Punk called out this guy. He said he hasn't gotten any screwing done 16 years or something like that. Then CM Punk said maybe he shouldn't have said that, but that's how he is. And he said that maybe he shouldn't have come back so soon from a serious injury. He said that it wasn't the first time he got beat up in Cleveland. He said he was cleared for the match. However, it's a new 100%. He doesn't know if it's good enough. And he said he feels like he let everybody down. And then, just as it seemed like CM Punk was going to step away and call it quits, we had Ace Steel, the producer, returning to the ring, and he said CM Punk was not supposed to say what he said. That's not what they talked about before CM Punk went out there. In other words, this wasn't part of the script. He said that he trained CM Punk, in case anybody didn't know, and actually I I don't know who trained CM Punk, so this was news to me. He said he trained CM Punk, coached CM Punk, and CM Punk filled an arena full of people on a rumor that he was going to return to wrestling. And he said he's not going to let CM Punk leave now. He said, when you get knocked down, you get the fuck back up. He used the F word, and I just said it too. He then slapped CM Punk, and they didn't censor the F word. So that was on TV. He did a great job here, though. I will give him this. I know like nothing about him. I guess he wrestled in TNA with CM Punk and maybe Ring of Honor. I don't know. But yeah, this was a pretty solid promo from him. And sorry, Jeff, I'm not a Ring of Honor guy, so I really don't know anything about him. Jose Garza says definitely did not train him in MMA. So he slapped CM Punk, told CM Punk to sign the contract, and CM Punk all of a sudden got fired up. He hugged him. He kept going on the mic. He got in the crowd, and he said the weak will be killed and eaten. And then he finished his promo by saying, "We are Chicago," and signed it. Jeff said that it was talked about on Punk's WWE bio. Which bio? Like, there's a million WWE bios. Jeff, I don't remember everything. I don't even remember what I had for lunch yesterday, and you expect me to remember every detail of every WWE bio. I'm not wired that way, bro, but I appreciate you pointing out all these facts about wrestling history. I'm not the wrestling trivia expert. So anyways, CM Punk is officially getting his rematch at the All Out pay-per-view. So mixed reactions on Twitter, no doubt. I've seen some people loving the segment. Others hated it. It's going to be really interesting. Like I said last week, was it a mistake to have the unification match given away for free on Dynamite? Like, that had a lot of hype and intrigue. And this was a fantastic promo, like more so Ace Steel than CM Punk, quite frankly. But this was very well done. And I think there will be a renewed intrigue. I just don't know if it's as much as the initial hype for the unification match. So I don't know. Time will tell. We'll see what pay-per-view number they do. Can they somehow match last year? I find that hard to believe. But yeah, as far as the winner goes, it's hard to bet against CM Punk in Chicago. Will he lose twice to Jon Moxley? I'm not so sure, but we're going to do our predictions Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 1 hour before the taped SmackDown. SmackDown was taped last week in Detroit. You can check out spoilers over at NoDQ.com. Just search SmackDown spoilers on the site. We had Jim Ross doing a little sit down with Christian and Jungle Boy. Considering all the segments we got from these guys leading up to this, I thought this was actually kind of tame. Jungle Boy just said what he said before. He loved Christian, but thinks that Christian was a jackass all along. It was the real Christian that was a jackass, and the Christian that was a friend was never the real Christian. And Christian agreed, said he's there for the money, for the titles, yada, yada, yada. And then Jungle Boy said that on Sunday, Christian will not be fighting Jungle Boy, but rather Christian will be fighting Jack Perry. So there you go. Moving on here, we had FTR and Wardlow in a squash match against three random guys. Jeff Meacham probably knows who they are. I don't. Easy win for these guys, the main players. FTR hit the big rig on one of them, and then Wardlow did the Powerbomb Symphony. So yeah, just a little quick match to get these guys on TV and set them up for the for their big match against the Motor City Machine Guns. And I love those guys, but I mean, they're not winning this. So did you really need to have FTR and Wardlow win a squash match to build them up as credible so maybe they could beat Jay Lethal and Motor City Machine Guns? Kind of silly. I think it was just a way to get these guys on the show. That's about it. And Jeff says, be better educated and informed than Aaron. Well, Jeff, you are right about that. But one lesson that can be learned is if you're going to have me promote a live stream, you should really go through with that live stream. Just saying, my friend. Moving on here, we had Jon Moxley returning, and he got in the ring, said that CM Punk is in danger the moment the bell rings at the pay-per-view, and he said that he will show the difference between a fake Messiah and a real champion. So yeah, Moxley just hammering it home. And this is fine because they only had one show to really set up the confirmed main event for All Out. I was fine with them doing like 3 segments with these guys because he had to really get people hyped up for this. This is the main event, and you only had one show to get it in. I suppose they could do something on Rampage, but I mean, 400,000 people watch it, so this is where you want to do the big angles and promos to get people hyped up for it. Anyways, moving on here, we had another backstage segment. We had Andrade offering money to Evil Uno and 10. 10 was injured, and Andrade offered some money, but Evil Uno said that him and 10 are Dark Order forever, turned down whatever Andrade's offer was. And then Andrade responded by attacking Evil Uno, and they used a stun gun in the process. And there was a follow-up to this later, which we'll get to in a few moments. We had Wheeler Yuta versus Dante Martin versus Rush versus Rey Fenix. Fatal 4-way match. Very entertaining stuff from these guys, as you would expect. Lots of dives, everybody hitting big moves. And Dante hit a poison rana to Fenix. However, before he could hit the nosedive, Yuta stopped him, and then Yuta pinned Dante Martin to score the victory, picking up some momentum for the, I think he's in the Casino Battle Royal ladder match. I think it's a ladder match. I'm not even sure what the hell they're doing on Sunday. Again, this hasn't been the best show or the best couple of weeks in terms of hyping up the pay-per-view because I'm still not fully aware of what all these matches are. They got like 12 matches, a lot of them just thrown together at the last minute. Jeff, I'm more than happy to come at you directly with an issue, but you're in the chat room trying to stir things up here. So not sure what your deal is, but when you advertise that you're going to do something, you should do it. Other words, don't announce it in the first place. Marketing 101. Just trying to throw a few pointers out there at you because clearly you do not understand. We had Silver and Reynolds backstage talking about how 10 cannot compete. And then Adam Page showed up. And Adam Page said that if they need a guy, he'll do it. Jeff, there's an old saying, there's always an excuse when you need one. Adam Page is going to be part of the Dark Order team on Rampage. And I'm fine with this direction, but the one negative here is that it gave away the main event because they've been hyping up Adam Page with the Young Bucks. That's been the storyline going on. And, you know, the Dark Order being in the finals of this trios tournament, like without Adam Page, like you knew something was happening here. And once Adam Page is in the mix, like it pretty much guarantees it's Dark Order with Adam Page versus the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega at the pay-per-view. Like, it's obvious here. Jeff, the reason I didn't post the comment because you keep spamming in the comment section. You don't have to post it 10 times. I'm trying to do a stream here. I'm trying to do the professional thing here and recap the show. That's the priority. But if you're going to spam the chat a million times and then I plug your show and then you still don't do it, well, that's an issue. And you just keep on going. No, I'm not calling you. It's very late. Got things to do in the morning. So, Jeff, I would appreciate if you stop spamming the chat room. Now we're going to move on here to our main event of the evening. Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks against Will Ospreay and Aussie Open. This was a wild main event. Like, you would have high expectations after last week because Will Ospreay did a lot of stuff in that match, and it was a hot match last week. Even though I felt like it was over choreographed, they still had a very exciting match. It was a lot of fun to watch, and somehow I feel like they managed to top it this week. Like, with the Bucks in there, Kenny Omega, like it was just a spectacle the entire way through. I'm not even sure how I can describe it. Kenny Omega had no shoulder brace, so they were playing up that he's slowly getting better. The rehab is working. They had Justin Roberts insulting Will Ospreay for Kenny Omega's introduction. That was entertaining. And Omega and Ospreay wasted no time going at it. Like they were very eager to beat each other up. And they were brawling on the outside of the ring. Everybody was on the outside of the ring. They fought by the ramp and the stage. And we got like 2 commercial breaks on this show. So they got a pretty good amount of time. Keith Johnson sent in $2. Thank you for that, Keith. Says, Aaron, who's better, Omega or Ospreay? Well, it depends on what your criteria is. I always say this, it's subjective. Ospreay is one of the best athletes in wrestling, arguably the best right now. Some would say he is the best. Like, and nobody can deny that. Like, as far as pure athleticism goes, he's at the top of his game. Like, that guy is amazing at what he can do athletically. Kenny Omega might be, I don't know if I want to say more well-rounded, but Kenny Omega can do a lot of different styles. And I really haven't seen much of Ospreay other than just him going 100 miles an hour doing crazy stuff. But I know Omega can do the hardcore matches, and we've seen him in there with all sorts of different opponents. I haven't seen enough of Ospreay. Maybe he has done some of that stuff. I know that Kenny Omega can wrestle blow-up dolls very well. But yeah, I mean, they're both great in their own ways. Dr. Dakota Scorpio sent in a $2 super chat, says this match is going to get 6 stars. Probably, I think Dave Meltzer gave the match last week 5 stars, or said it was easily 5 stars. So, you know, that's his criteria. He loves the work rate and the athleticism and all the high spots. When they go out there and they're just working their asses off, you know, that's what he loves. And, you know, it is great to watch. So anyways, after the first break, Ospreay was coming off over the top and he landed on his feet, but Omega caught him and hit a Snapdragon suplex, and that kind of slowed down the pace. Crowd was loving this, by the way. So, you know, you're giving your paying customers what they want. You know, can't complain about that too much. Crowd was chanting "Fight Forever," and Aussie Open hit a delayed superplex to Omega, and Ospreay tore off the compression shirt. Omega had a bunch of bandages all over his body. His ribs were taped up, and Ospreay was mocking Omega's taunt. They started trading blows. They were going back and forth, and the Elite managed to rebuild some momentum. They hit a triple super kick, but then you had Ospreay and one of the Aussie Open guys hit the Indy Taker. However, that did not end the match, and then the Bucks hit their Indy Taker to Ospreay. They got him out of the equation, and then Omega hit the V-trigger to, I think, Fletcher, one of the Aussie Open guys, and then hit the one-winged angel. It scored the victory. Awesome match here. Fantastic stuff. My only negative was it was predictable after the whole Adam Page is going to be representing the Dark Order in the other match to determine the finals for All Out. Because it's pretty clear all along, the whole thing with the Elite, the Bucks, Omega, Adam Page, that's all going to be the big angle to lead up to the first Trios champions being crowned. So all in all, very entertaining Dynamite as always. The CM Punk stuff was well done, and we will see where we're going with this at the pay-per-view. And I give this show an A-. Awesome Dynamite. Great wrestling, great angles to set up the pay-per-view. I very much enjoyed it. So make sure you guys tune in for All Out. And if you're not watching the pay-per-view, if you don't want to spend the $50, you can head over to NoDQ.com for live results coverage of All Out. I will be doing the match-by-match results and doing the live stream. And, of course, we got Clash at the Castle on Saturday, Worlds Collide on Sunday, and they really beefed up that card, too. I guess I could do my predictions real quick for that, since we only did 2 matches. I pretty much think that the main NXT people will be winning the matches, and we have a few main roster people coming in. Nikki ASH and Doudrop will be going for the NXT tag titles, but I do not think they will be winning. So I think I'm trying to remember what there was like another unification match. I think the Creed brothers will win their match. And I think it's going to be an awesome show. I think they did a great job stacking it up. Oh, Ricochet versus Carmelo. That is going to be amazing. That could be a show stealer right there. And I think Carmelo retains the North American title. So pretty much as far as my predictions for that go, I'm leaning towards the champs retaining. So thank you all so much for tuning in. And again, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, we have the predictions live stream for All Out. It's going to be a busy one. No DQ Review 202, Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, usual time. Thank you all so much. Take care, everybody. And remember to say yes to NoDQ.com. See you all next time.